What's up everybody? Today at Speedy's Garage we're going to do a little tool review. So I had a situation where I needed to drill into some hard material in a very confined space. I didn't want to spend a lot of money because I don't have to do something like this very often, so I checked out the Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic 90-degree drill. I found this guy on sale and I had a 20% off coupon, so it made the total purchase price like $30. So let's see how it looks. Feels pretty sturdy actually. In the box, wow. They include a chuck, which is nice, as well as a quick connect. I don't particularly like these metal type quick connects, so I'm actually going to use one of the brass colored ones that I have on hand, but that's pretty cool that they include that. On most air tools, you don't get that, and for 30 bucks, pretty good deal. Oiled daily or warranty is void, okay. And then we get some paperwork. Let's get it set up. I'm gonna take a quick look at the paperwork on this guy. 3/8. Oh, it's reversible, I should mention that. So it runs clockwise like a normal drill, but if you push this in and turn it and lock it, now it'll run counterclockwise. So, as you can see, well, if I can keep the chuck tightened, you'd see. There you go, and now it's running in reverse. So that's a nice feature. Let's see what else it says in here. Anything, wear eye protection, yada yada. Max speed is 1500 RPM, air inlet 1/4-18 NPT, max air pressure 90 PSI. I already mentioned it's 4 CFM at 90, so that's what you're gonna need. And the capacity, the chuck capacity is 3/8 of an inch. That's the max. We'll talk about a bunch of other strange things like filters and whatnot. We already got all that set up in our air system. Nothing major. It does talk about a grease fitting here. So lubrication diagram, grease fitting. You know, when I took it out of the box, I tried to put some white lithium grease in that little fitting, and I don't know how they expect you to get that in there. It's like a spring-loaded little deal. It's not a Zerk fitting like you would think, so I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. If you know how to do that, leave me a comment below. I actually just unscrewed the head and filled it with white lithium grease before I ever used it. And I also went ahead and put a couple of drops of oil in the intake, or input, air input there. So it's ready to go. I removed the little plastic cap they had protecting the inlet. And I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, I used one of my brass colored connectors. I like these better, I don't know why. Don't ask me why, I just feel better about them. Maybe it's because it's what I've always used. And I put a little bit of Teflon tape around it to seal. Now I'm just gonna tighten this in. And it's a, what is this? A 9/16. Got to seal it pretty good. Now we're ready to try it out. All right, we're gonna hook up our air supply. We'll see how loud it is. It does sing a little bit. Let's compare it to a Husky ratchet. This is a 3/8 Husky ratchet. Husky ratchet is way louder, actually. Well, that's not bad. Let's look at a sound meter. I've actually got a decibel meter. Check that out. That's normal, just room noise. This is me talking. You can see it's about 80 decibels. Now we're going to run the drill. We're about, let's back up. We're about, let's say, a foot away. So 88 decibels. That's what that recorded. And now we'll compare it to the Husky ratchet. All right, again, normal conversations, like 78 to 80 or so. Now we're gonna run this ratchet, same, about a foot away. So my ears must play tricks on me, because surprisingly, that was the same 88 decibels. So the Harbor Freight 90-degree drill is as loud as a Husky 3/8 drive ratchet. So far, so good. So don't be misled by the fact that normal voice conversation is about 80 decibels according to our little decibel reader there. The fact that this tool read 88 decibels as well as the Husky ratchet, that's logarithmic. I know it's a big word, but what it means is basically each time you go up 1 decibel, it's 10 times in magnitude. So going from 80 to 88 is actually a whole lot. So it still makes noise, but for being a $30 tool, it's nowhere near as noisy as I thought it would be. You probably want to wear earplugs. I will when I use it, but it isn't unreasonable for what it is. One last thing I'll mention is you can actually loosen the head of the drill, and it's reverse thread, so it's righty-loosey instead of righty-tighty, and then use this collar to lock it back down. And you can actually turn around where the activation handle is. You can put it on the front or the back. If you have a clearance, issue where you can't get into a space and you can only push it from the front, that's pretty handy. And then of course you've got your forward and reverse switch still here. I'm going to turn it back and put it back to where it's normal, which I think is to the front. I'm sorry, the handle to the back rather. Tighten that back up. And I've got a pretty serious job for this thing, so if it can get the job done that I've got in mind, it'll definitely get a thumbs up. So let's quit talking about it and go get to work. Hopefully you can see there we've got it done. Now we're just gonna take the jig off and vacuum out the shavings. Okay, so I did use a proper Cobalt drill bit to do that, brand new drill bit, and I did use some tool cutting oil on the bit as well. That kept it cool and keeps it sharp. Doing those two things, this little $30 90-degree pneumatic drill did an awesome job drilling into that crank. That is a forged steel crank, very hard material. It wasn't like butter, don't get me wrong. I'd let the drill do the work, but I did put a little bit of tension on it. But for 30 bucks, I don't know how you can beat this, so it definitely gets a thumbs up from Speedy's Garage. And one thing I will say, you're gonna need a pretty good air compressor when you're running those kinds of tools. And here's the one I have. It's a Quincy QT54 60-gallon 2-stage compressor. And I have loved this thing. I really haven't found anything it can't handle. I'll put a link to the top of the install when we picked it up. All right, go ahead and close that up. And we've got it in a soundproof closet. And on the outside is the regulator. And I normally set it to about 105 PSI so that the tool is sure to get 90 PSI at the end of the line. And the way I figured that out is I have this little jig that I made up, and it's just got a regulator with a gauge on it, and it's got a female quick connect on one end and a male quick connect on the other, and that way I can put it in line with a tool, and then I can actually see what the air pressure is at the tool. And you can see on this one it's about, it says 105. You run a little bit, just a little bit over 100. So I want to make sure the tool gets plenty of air. And I made this thing up, and it actually serves lots of purposes. I can use it to bleed brakes because I can dial that pressure down and set it to 15 PSI and connect it up to a reservoir or something like that, and allow it to just push the fluid out. So anyway, lots of uses for this, and it was pretty cheap to make. But that's how I figured out how much air pressure I needed to set at the regulator so that the tool got enough. So I realized that everybody has a 60 or 80 gallon air compressor. For a long time, I got everything done with this little 30-gallon Husky air compressor here. So let's connect up to it. I've got it set to the same 105 PSI. Up to the drill. So you can hear how it starts off pretty strong, and then it kind of drops off. Let's crank up the air pressure. So that's as high as it'll go. That's 125 PSI. Actually, yeah, it's as high as it'll go. I even flipped it on to see if it would fill up. So it's quite a bit happier. So if you have a smaller air compressor, you can still get by using the drill with the smaller one. You'll just have to turn the air pressure up just a little bit to kind of keep that momentum. Well, Well, that's all I've got for you today. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't. Check us out on Instagram. It's at Speedy's_garage, as well as our website, www.speedysgarage.net. And leave me some comments below. Let me know what you thought about our little $30 90-degree angle drill and what other tools you might like to see me review.